morning. Welcome to Leicester Chef's Christmas show. Behind me as my lovely lighting. There's a reason for that, and I blame YouTube. I went and searched how to make your YouTube videos prettier. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. It's got like 1,000,001 flickering things, and I gave up on trying to figure it out. Anyway, I digress. No long talking, no spiel, no long Leicester Chef going on with technical stuff. I know some people enjoy that I do that at the beginning of my videos, and I know some people don't enjoy that. But it's my channel, so start your own channel, and then you can go and make your videos the way you want them. That's actually very, that's very assholey. But yeah, I don't know how many times every day someone has some other advice on how I should make the videos. They tell me how they like their cooking videos, and then another one will tell me how they don't like. Like guys, there's 1,000,000 and billion and 100,000 trillion videos on YouTube. You don't have to watch them all. And if you don't like how I do it, that is perfectly okay. Yeah, anyway, I digress. We're making biltong. Biltong, it is a cured, dried South African meat. Better than jerky, better than any other cured and dried meat you'll find anywhere in the world. That is why people always try to smuggle it all over the world, because the way it is made, I don't know if it's a certain types of spices we have in South Africa that aid to the flavor of our biltong, but you can make this anywhere in the world. You can, wherever you are right now. Try do it within a season like now. I'm doing it in autumn because it is not warm in autumn in Johannesburg. Our maximum is around 21, 22 degrees, which is ideal. It means you've got just enough heat to dry the meat long enough, but then there's low moisture in the air. So you want to avoid moisture, you want to avoid the chance of bugs, you want to avoid the chance of mold, you want to avoid any contamination. So you also want a room that has a bit of a breeze or a draft. If you don't have the contraption that I'm going to be using, you're going to see it just now. But you can make biltong anywhere, anyhow. But yeah, this is how I make mine, and the only person I'm sharing this biltong with is my puppy, as he is staring out at me now. Yeah, it makes an awesome smell, and it is a lot cheaper to make your own than to go and buy it. Hence me making my own. Hope you make your own as well. Okay, this is what I'm going to be using to make my biltong. Make sure that you've got all your equipment out. Remember, when you're making biltong, the goal is to avoid any chance of contamination from bacteria, from fungi, from anything. This meat is straight out the fridge. It's still cold. I've cleaned my hands, I've sanitized, I have washed them 3 times. You do not want any bacteria or fungi on biltong, otherwise it just goes and messes up everything. You need a bowl. This is for soaking your meat in vinegar. You're going to need a tray. This tray is for storing the biltong for 3 hours for it to marinate. You're going to need either a very clean, brand new kitchen towel or paper towel. I'm using paper towel. Ideally, I would use a material cotton towel. But yeah, cleverly, I forgot to go and buy paper towel. Not paper towel, material towel. Those disposable blue cloths, you know what I mean. Ideally, those are the ones you want to work with. But I'm going to use paper towel to work just fine. And then in here, I've got coriander. This is where you get that beautiful biltong flavor. It's also that flavor that you get in boerewors. It was brought to South Africa by the Cape Malay. Yeah, so we need to actually give thanks to that particular South African flavor to meat and our spices. I don't think there's a spice blend in South Africa for braaiing or for red meat that does not have coriander. And you need it for biltong. You'll notice I haven't cracked it. I'm going to crack it just now, but if you can get a container that's already cracked, then use that rather. This is dried garlic flakes. Please rather try use dry ingredients for making biltong. The reason is they suck as much moisture out of the meat as possible. If you're going to use fresh garlic, it's going to take your biltong longer to dry. Okay, and by this absorbing all the moisture out of the meat, it also infuses it back with the strong garlic flavor. This over here is my favorite commercial blend of spices. I really buy commercial blends, but this one is one of my favorites. It's Ina Parman's garlic and herb. Over here is a blend that I've made with chili flakes. There is a bit of sea salt in there. It's what I use for my braaiing. I make it myself. There's black peppercorns in there. There's dried onion flakes in there as well. There's also dried rosemary, dried thyme, a mixture of various herbs. In this one, this is an Italian mixed herb blend. This is also a commercial mixed herb blend. Okay, so this one and this one are two commercial mixed blends. The herbs as well, dried, not fresh. The reason is with fresh, you're gonna have to chop. You want them to be fine as possible. You don't want to be using big rosemary leaves. So I prefer just using a dried herb blend. It's easier, it's faster. Smoked paprika. This one you can leave out, but I am a huge fan of smoked Spanish paprika. Well, paprika is Spanish, but yeah, they haven't patented it, so you get paprikas made all over the world. But this is my favorite one. You see how rich that dark color is? Smoked paprika. Please don't use a paprika that is not smoked because they tend to lack flavor. I'm adding this one to add a strong smoky flavor to my biltong. The most important ingredient, this is desert salt, Kalahari desert salt. I think it's made by Oryx. Well, it's Oryx line of salts from the Kalahari desert in South Africa. If you're watching this video anywhere else in the world, you can use sea salt, koshering salt actually. Don't use Maldon salt because you're just wasting your money. Maldon salt is too thin and flaky for making biltong. You need a big crystal. So desert salt, there you go. Desert salt is a big crystal. Koshering salt is the same. Ironically, that's what I'm doing now. This is koshering what I'm doing. Biltong is a koshered meat. So you need a koshering salt or a thick desert salt or sea salt, okay? And in this glass, I wish it was vodka, but under the lockdown, this is white grape vinegar. You can also use white spirit vinegar. You want those cheap kind of tasting vinegars. You do not want to go all fancy and use your apple cider vinegars or your balsamics or whatever kind of vinegars. The reason is they tend to have a slight sweet taste to them, and what they do is make your final biltong sweeter, which is not a nice taste. Well, for me personally, if you're that kind of person, then you go for it. But for me personally, I do not like a biltong that is sweet. Those chutney biltongs are not for me. I hate them so much. So these sharp, harsher vinegars, like your spirit vinegar and your apple, and this is a white grape vinegar, sorry, are giving your biltong a more sharper taste, which breaks through the meat. And because you're adding all these other flavors and spices, it actually works, the combination. The reason there's vinegar in here is for curing. I'm not going to get all technical and explain all the curing processes, but because vinegar is an acid, it actually cures your meat, and it also fights any chance of bacteria and flies. We are not really soaking the biltong for too long in it, so you may have a chance of flies and maggots end of the day getting into your meat. So you have to be careful when you work with meat. That's why I said sanitize, clean everything, and then your vinegar adds flavor, but it also sanitizes your meat. Or sanitize, but yeah, it fights off any bacteria and stuff like that. Normally, if we're making a steak that we're going to grill or braai, I will tell you, make sure your steak is out the fridge for 30 minutes. But because we are making biltong, you want to work with it straight out the fridge. Do not let it sit at room temperature. Do not let it get touched by anything. You want it straight out the fridge. You work with it quickly and then back in the fridge for 3 hours. It's all about quickness, it's all about working fast, and it's also about adding flavors as quick as possible, avoiding any chance of cross-contamination. Okay, first thing, get your meat. I'm gonna try put it all in there. This meat is silver side, by the way. You want silver side, not any. Well, it gets technical. You can use any kind of meat for biltong. You can, that's true. But the best cut for biltong is silver side. Some places will call it top side. They're literally basically the same kind of thing. I know some people who work with meat and butcheries and stuff will probably get on my case, but we are simplifying it. I'm not going to explain all these cuts. Silver side or top side, you're working with the same kind of stuff. Okay, and this over here, silver side, it's 2.5 kgs of silver side. No recipe this time, as usual. I've been very bad lately without giving you recipes, but it's because some of the things I do in a kitchen, I do not follow a recipe, hence these videos being the recipe. This is about 1.5 cups. It's a whiskey goblet, and over all of the meat. You want it to get to all the parts. Okay, I'm going to bring my plate back, even though there is a bit of blood on it, that's fine. And what I'm going to be doing, oops, as I get all the salt everywhere, you soak the meat in as much of this vinegar as you can. Make sure it covers it, get it there as I spill it on the floor, and then lie it down. Same thing. Okay, these ones you want them flat, you don't want anything overlapping, so I'm going to leave these ones for now and then clear them to the side, because what we want now is to start spicing what we have here. If you find your silver side is too long, cut it in half over here. I want my biltong to be very long in my my dryer, so I'm going to be hanging it like this. Okay, so you grab your clean, and you're going to pat as much of the moisture off the meat as possible. Do not let it lie back on the vinegar again, rather put it on top of the other meat. Pat as much of that vinegar off, and then it goes into your tray. Okay, so now first thing, I'm going to grab my coriander, my pestle and mortar. I'm going to take all my coriander and put it in there because I want to grind it down. The reason I'm cracking it is because all the flavors in the inside of the coriander. Okay, and I'm going to grab some onto my biltong, flip it over and do it again on the other side. Flip that one over. And then my garlic flakes. So it's just a process of coating both sides with about a pinch of every ingredient. I like garlic. You can cut down on your garlic if you want. Okay. And then my Parman's garlic and herb spice. Voila! Well coated. You want to be generous with your coating. And get as many spots as possible, because a lot of the coating is actually going to fall off. As the meat cramps in your dryer, a lot of this coating actually falls off. So what you need to do is get it absorbed by the meat for as long as possible. This is going into my fridge for about 12 hours. I'm going to do this overnight. So when the next video or the next segment is going to be me hanging it in my dryer, will be the next day. Okay, so into the fridge, 12 hours, I'll be hanging it the next day. Okay then, this is the next day. Well, if you're watching it on the same day, then it's the anyway, you know what I mean. I've got my this is my Biltong dryer machine. It's called a dehydrator. Yeah, if you're old school and you don't have one of these, what you can do with your Biltong is actually just get one of those indoor washing lines, the foldable ones. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And then what you get are hangers. Try use wire hangers, don't use wooden ones, because the wooden ones are just going to absorb all the blood and moisture and create fungi. What you would want are the wire ones, because they would not be absorbing any fungi, and just wipe them down. The plastic ones will also work, but the problem with the plastic ones, they're a bit thick. So as your meat hangs over it, it's a bit weird, but they'll work as well. And you need to put it in a room that is well ventilated. You'll need to get a standing fan, either pointing directly at the meat, or if it's a well ventilated place like a garage that's got circulating air, that should work as well. So what you're trying to avoid is any kind of moisture getting into the room. You want to avoid any kind of bacteria getting to your meat. So I've seen some people cover the hanging meat with plastic sheets as well. Some people create a mesh around it, a net like those mosquito nets, and they cover. So you just want to get avoid insects getting to it. And it sounds like a lot of work, but if you're doing this in winter, then you shouldn't have that many issues, because there are very few bugs and things in winter. But make sure there is circulating air. That is the most important thing. That is why I bought this thing, because it solves all of that. This is a cheapie, and yeah, let me not get into it, because then I'm going to get into brands, but this can actually be improved on a lot. So if anyone out there has a better design that is equally as cheap, this is like dirt cheap to buy. If you want to make your own, this extractor fan is literally the same as the ones that you get out of computers. So you've got an old computer at home and you're very good at your hands, you can actually build your own. What this does is draw air out of the box. Let me lift that. That is the box. It draws air out of there and gets rid of it, basically. That is all that you want. And then this light over here provides a very, very light heat. And what that does, the combination of this extracting air and the light bulb's heat, means that your meat dries quicker. So unlike drying it in a room on its own, which will take a week and a half to about 2 weeks, with this you can actually dry your biltong within 4 to 5 days. Some people argue that your biltong isn't as flavorful because now it's drying quicker. I found that isn't true. The key is in how well you flavored this baby over here. Okay, it's not really about this thing. As you can see, the design, it's very flimsy, guys. So if you're moving house or traveling, leave this behind. It's dirt cheap. Just make another one wherever you are. It is flimsy as hell. That's why I said I don't want to discuss it, because then I'm going to go into brands, and yeah, let's leave that one alone. I've had this for about 5 years, and I've only ever moved it from its regular position maybe about 3 times, and this is one of the 3 times. I never ever move this thing because of how flimsy it is. I'm just moving it now for this recording. Once I put the meat in, I'm going to be moving it back to the kitchen. Yeah. Okay, let us hang biltong. Oh, let me show you when it's on, what it does. So now it's on. I'm sure you saw the light go on there, and you can see the fan spinning and the light comes on. and it stays on 24/7. It makes one of the most beautiful smells in your house. Yeah, but that's the thing. I'm gonna put that there. Let me just switch it off. Okay, that's off. So there's the biltong, just hanging, getting ready to go and dry. 3 more days. You see the coating, not too much has come off of it because of how long I let it sit and rest with the coating. The biltong is swinging that way because I shook the pot by mistake. It doesn't swing that way normally. I'm about to test one. I'm actually going to leave a lot of these just hanging again for another day or even 2 to get them slightly drier. I've also found, because when I make a lot of biltong, yeah, unfortunately, if you don't consume it quick enough or you don't keep it in a cool enough place, it can have issues later on. Excuse that sound. I cleverly left my phone on. Anyway, but this is a quick one. We're just testing the biltong. A nice thin piece. This one should be still nice and moist inside. Let me just move the camera so you can... Whoops, there we go. I could never be a cameraman as my phone goes off again.